We have Moses standing on the precipice of the promised land, unable to enter, but able to see that the promise that God has made, it's come to pass, almost. We've got a whole other ball game to play after this story under Joshua. But it's there, that promise. But it's a promise for the people, a promise of something that is material, a place where their feet can land, a place that they can call home, a place that they can raise their children, a place that they can worship God in the way that they want to worship God. But for God, it is something more. And I think for Moses being able to stand on that precipice, while it becomes a reality for his people, in a way, it is still a dream for Moses. When we come to the gospel, it is my sense that the Pharisees, too, are on the premises of a promised land. But in their minds, that promised land is a Messiah who they can kind of set their teeth into. A Messiah who will come and save them from the oppression of Rome. A Messiah who will lead them into a new glory. It's a material dream. But Jesus is calling them, calling all of us, I should say, to something more, something that's not material. Not something that we can necessarily plant our feet in. We can try to raise our children in it, but we can't plant our feet in it. The reading can get confusing. Jesus is quoting from Psalm 110, which is considered a coronation song. But because at the time of Jesus, all these psalms were attributed to David as being the one that wrote them, then it is David saying, God, Yahweh, spoke to my master, Adonai. You will sit on my right hand. So it's a conversation happening between Yahweh and Adonai. Jesus isn't necessarily spelling out that he is what we refer to him as God incarnate. He's not concerned with that at this point, but he is concerned with elevating the mind of those listening to say, you have put Messiah in a box. And God has something more in value with Messiah. It's not about bringing you into or reigniting your promised land that you reside in and freeing it from the Romans. But it is about opening that heart. Now, this calls us back to that first question that they asked him. What is the summary of the law? No hesitation from Jesus. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And if you recall, there's another section in Gospel where he says, love your enemy. Do you all remember that? Ooh, that's a hard one. And that law is the center point for all that Jesus says and does. I challenge anyone to read the Gospels and let me know if it doesn't match up with that core value. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. That is the promised land that Jesus is referring to. That is the promised land that Jesus is calling us to, not something material. What does this mean for the church? I don't know about you, but I feel like our world is on a precipice. How do you feel? Do you feel like the world is on a precipice? Yeah? We want peace. Oh my gosh, we want peace. But the world is made up of humans. Good, bad, hurt, angry, conflicted. We run the gamut. And because of that, we react in the way that we do to whatever is happening in our world. That's the material way of thinking. I can set my teeth in that anger. I can set my teeth in that sadness. Love is something different. Love is something different. I like one of the lines in the hymn that we sang, take my hands and let them move at the impulse of thy love, not my love. Thy love. Our love is sometimes a little too wrapped up in all that emotion stuff, right? I'm not sure. People need to work materially towards peace. In Ukraine, between Israel and Palestine, people need to bodily be present in order to do that. People need to be bodily able to stand up to Christians who misuse Christ's name in defense of doing the wrong thing. I think you're all smart enough to recognize when Christ's name is being misused. So what do we do as a church? We look beyond the material thing and just begin to be peaceful in our hearts and then extend that to our neighbor, no matter who they are. What are the interfaith things that are going on where Jews and Palestinians and Christians and Muslims are all gathered in one place to comfort each other? And it may be a small part in the world, and maybe it won't make a difference in the Middle East. But that is the thing that Christ calls us to. That is the land that Christ calls us to. I don't think I can say any more about it. I think each of you in your own way, as part of your own stewardship, not just of this church, but of your own neighborhoods and people that you know, find ways to bring God's love, not your love, but God's love into the world. That's what Christ is looking for. So, may you all keep in your hearts that loving your Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and your neighbor as yourself. Amen.